Hey guys, Rolando Rodriguez here with xgains.com. We got workouts that work, eats to satisfy, and everything else you need to reach your lifestyle goals. Today I want to continue the conversation about carbs and fats, which can be found really all over the internet, and certainly we have more videos. I'll have links down below. But specifically, I want to touch on the idea that a lot of people don't understand, that we can't have high carbs and high fats at the same time. The typical American diet and the typical almost world diet right now consists of carbs, lots of them, and pretty high fat, and of course your typical meats. Now carbs is anything with sugars, fruits, grains, mashed potatoes, other starches that aren't, don't have fiber in them, and the typical, pasta, rice, bread, items that we eat on a daily basis now throughout the world. Now if you're intaking a lot of carbs and you're also intaking a lot of fat, the issue arises because as we intake carbs, as we've discussed before in this blog, and we won't dive too deep into it, if you want to learn more, check out the links down below. Our body utilizes the carbs that we intake for its immediate energy needs. It stores the glycogen inside the liver and in the muscles, right? So it's pretty much our body's primary source of fuel, carbs, and that includes the brain. The brain wants carbs as a source of fuel because it's so easily attainable. It's almost immediately, especially the simple carbs, ready for use once you start to digest it. So now let's say that you ingest too many carbs. What happens? The excess carbs that you don't need get turned into and stored as fat on your body. And here's the thing. You're intaking too many carbs, so you have spillover of carbs that are being turned into fat, while you're also eating a relatively high fat diet. So that fat that you're intaking does not need to be utilized as energy because you're using the carbs that you're intaking. So remember, you have spillover from too many carbs that you're already consuming that are being turned into fat, and then on top of that you have the other fat that you're eating on that's part of your diet. So you have the carbs that have been turned into fat plus the fat that you ate, boom, become even more fat on your body. So the issue here is you can eat carbs. You don't have to be afraid of carbs, okay? And on the flip side, you can eat fats. You don't have to be afraid of fats. The issue is you can't have too many carbs and too many fats at the same time, because your body is going to be using the carbs as energy and storing the fat, plus storing any carbs as fat that you're overeating in terms of carbs. So the issue is, if you're going to start a new eating plan, you need to decide, do I want to have carbs? If the answer is, of course, yes, I want breads and rices and mashed potatoes and bunch, fruits, other items that, are either just grains that are carbs in general, or, less starchy vegetables that have higher amounts of carbs in them, whatever the case may be. If you want to have carbs in your body, you need to regulate the amount of fat and reduce the fats that you are going to eat in that diet, if the main idea is to lose body fat, okay? Naturally, any diet that is restricting your calories, so your caloric intake for the day, is going to naturally lend itself to reducing your carbohydrate intake on a daily basis because we eat so much of it. Carbs are pretty much a staple of every single part of our meals, and not the good, high fibrous carbs. We're talking about the grains and the white breads and the refined sugary elements in the cookies and the desserts that we normally eat. So when you're starting a diet that's going to require for you to reduce your caloric intake, you're naturally going to start eliminating things like chocolate chip cookies, some of the breads that you eat, some of the rice, some of the mashed potatoes, items like that, okay? But even though you're reducing those items, you also have to make sure that you're reducing your fat intake to naturally hit that lower caloric intake that you need for the day if you're starting a diet that requires you to restrict your calories. Now on the flip side, let's say that you want to diet a little more high in fats, right? Olive oil, butter, fattier cuts of meats, whatever the case may be. If you want to eat most of your calories from fat, then you need to drastically reduce the amount of carbs you're intaking daily. So the keto diet approach, the low carb, high fat diet approach, is trying to get your body in a state where it's utilizing fat as its primary source of fuel. But the only way to get there is to drastically reduce or almost eliminate your carb intake on a daily basis. You're going to get most of your carbohydrates from your vegetables, actually, that you're intaking with your fats and your proteins. So to recap, we can have carbs. Carbs aren't the bad guy. We can have fat. Fat's not the bad guy. The thing is we can't have a high carb, high fat diet and expect to lose body fat, because you're not going to be able to do it. That's not how the body works. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to give up some things if you want to change your body. I personally find that my body works magnificently on a low carb, high fat approach. Now, the low carb, high fat approach might not work for you, and it's okay, but you need to know that if you're going to be intaking more than 50 grams, which is what normal people do, of carbs on a daily basis, you need to reduce your fat intake. You need to be aware of the fact that we need fats in our diets and we need carbs in our diet. That's not the issue here that we're discussing. We're just discussing that we can't have both of them in quantities that we typically have in today's society. If you want to have carbs in your diet, I'd say you go anywhere from 150 to 200 grams per day, and you reduce your fat intake to anywhere from 12 to 15%. And now if you're going to the ketosis, the keto diet, the low carb, high fat approach, then you're going to want to keep your carb intake at 50 grams or less, and you want to actually have your fat intake be anywhere from 60 to 80% of your total caloric intake for the day. Okay, so as you see, if you use carbs, you reduce the fats. If you want to go high fat, you have to reduce the carbs. If not, your body's just going to continue to pack on the fat and continue to use the carbs as its primary source of energy. And if that's the case you want, then you need to reduce the fat that you're eating. But if you want to use fat as your primary source of fuel, well, guess what? You have to reduce your caloric intake in terms of carbs. That's it for now. This is Rolando Rodriguez with xgains.com. The website again is that's the symbol, not the word, gains.com. Let me know if you got any questions or comments down below, and I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Peace.